So tonight should be the last of our projects, of our sections on the bishop dress that we worked on over the past year. I know two of us have it finished. Has anybody else gotten to that point that their smocking is even finished on their bishop? Thank you. Five?
Yeah, but I send them to the girls as soon as I finish the belt. Yeah, baby.
The hem is pretty straightforward for this, for a bishop, because it's all straight. It's not a shaped hem. It's on the straight grain. So it's usually pretty easy to do it. My problem was that I used the Cherry Williams bishop pattern. My pattern's missing the instructions. So I got my other Cherry Williams bishop pattern out, which is larger. It had the instructions, but none of the pieces. So at least I had the instructions. And the instructions for the hem are pretty hidden in these instructions. They're not very easy to follow. So I also decided that most of us have the book that we got from the construction book from, no, this is not, this was Saga. This was Carolyn Merrill for yoke and bishop dresses. And it is all the checkoff lists and everything for Saga for yoke and bishop dresses. And the first thing that they say is not to press the hem. Because if you press the hem, it tends to leave a mark and then you can't drop the hem. These bishops call for this, the 6 month size calls for 6 inches of hem, 6 1/4 inches, because you turn under the raw edge and then you do a 3 inch and then another 3 inches. Can go up to 8 inches, at 8 1/4 inches between with the larger sizes of the dress. So to keep from having the line in there so much that you can't get it out when you go to drop the hem, they suggest not to press the hem. I pressed mine before I read those instructions. Not only did I press it, but I'm having some difficulty with keeping things on the ironing board and folding them. My hands in the steam are not friendly with each other. So I actually.
My first experience with that was my grandmother made a dress for my daughter, the bishop. And I dropped the hem and I took a piece of silk and recorrected it across.
There are all kinds of ways to get around it.
That was
Yeah, and tucks. Well, the tuck is the easiest thing, because when you do the tuck, you put the hem into the tuck and you sew it on the machine and you're done. It's finished. There's no hand stitching the hem. I didn't do the tucks on this little teeny tiny thing, but I did baste. I used my 1/4 inch foot on my machine and I basted a 1/4 inch so that I have the right place that I need to fold. And then I measured 3 1/4 inches and basted again. So my actual hem, and you can take those basting stitches out. I'm gonna leave them in. You can see the basting at the 1/4 and the 3 inches, and it's much easier to fold it up on the stitching line.
Did you press that stitching line then, or no pressing? And you did, but
I did. The one book says not to, everything else says to. It's going to be your preference. I find it easier if it's pressed to fold them up and then to pin. And when I pin it, I actually pin the seams together first because they always have to match. And Even though they're the tiny French seams, you don't want them off.
It's a hang straight.
It won't hang straight if it's not pinned straight. Once I put the stitching in, it's so much easier to fold it up and press it on the stitching line. No, I used my 1/4 inch stick foot. Okay. And I did right along the very edge, the 1/4 inch. Okay. And then I taped my ruler to the sewing machine. Okay. And stitched on the 3 3/4 inch line.
Slide that thing on your tray.
No, I don't have that. Well, I taped my plastic ruler right to the bed and went right along because it was right there. There was no worrying about getting my fingers in the way or anything else. So after, I usually pin the devil out of this. This is not lots and lots of pins. I purchased my fabric. This is Liberty that I bought at Joann's in Frederick, because they were the only Joann's in this area. And it was on sale.
Right.
Yeah.
They did that at the opportunity to visit headquarters.
I was gonna say, somebody I just talked to was at headquarters.
Yeah, magnificent store.
Yeah, it was
Unbelievable, stocked, clean, organized.
Of course, it was Joann's.
Gigantic.
Where is it?
Hudson. It's in Ohio.
That's where we go.
Where? Hudson, Ohio.
What is it?
Joann's headquarters. They have like a warehouse or? No, it's not a warehouse. It is a formal store. And it's large. Large. Oh, boy. I'll
And
be there.
clean and well lit.
Clean and well lit, and it's very well stocked. I got some.
But then you hand stitch it or do you do it on machine?
I do it by hand. This one I'll do by hand. If I was doing the tucks.
What's
Oh, Sandy, you're so cheeky. Well, if you want to do it that way, then you have to put the tucks in it. So you do it by machine. And then that would be the zero stitch. The straight stitch with a 0 width. I'm not. When I start with the hem, got a new light today,
Oh, nice.
and it's really neat. It goes up 3 different letters, and not at Joann's. I got it at Target.
What needle size are you using for hemming?
I'm using a sharp 7.
Okay.
Because it's easy. I had it in my
Because that's what you have.
that's what I had. It's one that I'm not going to fight to thread. The single strand of thread. The hands will work tonight. I'm going to start this at one of the French seams I wanna catch as much of the fabric as I can to anchor that first stitch in the hem. And that's gonna anchor it underneath where you're not gonna see it. And then catch in the fold of the fabric. And little stitches. Pick up 1 or 2 threads of the dress fabric. 2, not 10. And back over into the fold just before where your stitch went across. So it's actually going to crisscross it over. Pull it apart a little bit, you can see. Where the stitches are actually crisscrossing.
So do they call it, is this like a blind hem or just like a hem?
Yes.
Blind hem.
Because you don't want your hem to be
Right.
showing on either.
Yeah.
The underneath, the lining, or I mean, the inside or the outside of the garments.
And you can get leather things or rubber things to put on your fingers, so when you go down, you don't always pick your.
Oh,
finger
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah.
How do you know how much to charge though? How many times in like I got it
Lead.
like they're having.
I've been doing findings on the book, and
Well,
it's, my fingers are
I
killing.
got that one.
Oh, I'm
This one.
here. I was about to ask.
All by the shoe. It's British.
Especially it's still.
It looks like she did about this. Yeah, good at that, my spare time. Do you have any spare time if you're not actually in an airplane?
I've been working on some quilt, and it's not, it's finer work, so I double my, you'll like this, I double the thread with a knot in it, because when I'm using single thread like you're doing, I lose my needle. I'm constantly
falls
losing my
out.
needle. Oh, yeah.
It falls out.
Yeah. So if I'm not doing something that's just like this, then I can. But I just learned to do that. Yes, because my daughter stepped on a needle.
Yeah.
And then 30 years later, my granddaughter did. And I said, where were you that you stepped on a needle? I've been overcautious since Becky stepped on one. I was behind the chair. Well, Becky, they were able to get out, and I thought granddaughter, they had to.
Oh. Okay, so you're going to the fold of your fabric, and then I'm coming back. How far back? Just halfway between these two stitches. Oh, okay, and that's where I'll take my plate into the outside of the dress. You have to get rid of some, you like to talk about that. And where you go back into your fold. Go back where you came out. No, it's behind present.
Okay.
So I'm making the X. Okay. I have a variation. Think of it like a retaining fold. I've learned over the years with my granddaughters who are so tomboy that the hem's gotta be in. Yeah, it's gotta be, it's also got to be flexible. Yes. Oh, yeah, because they're doing cartwheels with their shorts under it and everything. I watched Maggie do a cartwheel in that loose dress. Last year's design show piece. Yeah, her first community dress. But, you know, I wondered why 3 of the buttons fell off when I went to watch it.
So that's what you like quite funny.
It is. It is.
Well, we were supposed to go into them.
Maybe not even an 8.
I know, they get there.
But when you look on the other side. You know, but if you really look, you can feel it, but you can't see it.
No.
That's why I got the new light.
No, it's not the light, it's
1, 3, because this time of the night I can't see. A few hours of the night, so.
Susie gave us, I think everybody's that you know, and she said she didn't have any problem. Yeah, so we told everyone. So she's
This is not a quick one. I was gonna say this takes a while.
yes.
I've done similar thing, but I think my students are not.
This is a really little.
They, get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, I know how to do those things too, but I didn't think that was what that was supposed to do. Somewhere along the line, in one of the classes we took, and maybe it's 35 years, I guess. 3 years.
So he's right. Yeah, I think about
I may have picked it up in one of the books. Because there's nothing on people. But once you get moving,
it's very, very secure.
it is.
Oh, yeah.
secure.
And
I don't want to have to ever pick it out.
Right.
This is one that, yeah, they can outgrow it. When they're outgrowing it, there'll be another one.
That's for one.
Mhm.
I remember one time Sarah told me that she had dress for kindergarten. She loved it when she came to school and couldn't wait to see, what she was gonna be doing. So it was one day, I said, "Oh, Sarah, this dress is getting too small for you." Make me another one. That didn't last long. That didn't last long.
Megan did that too. And then when it's time to do the wedding gown, Mom, you have to make it, it has to be my last twirly gown. 360 inches around the bottom. Layer after that.
Just like the green
It was silk, it was Duchess satin silk underneath, and then silk organza overhead. Can't tell you how many yards of crinoline went under it too, because it was 10 times that.
They were the first.
So the threads end up being kind of on top of each other in
They
the
crisscross
fold, don't they? Yeah, no, they crisscross, but in the fold, you've got maybe more than one thread.
Yes,
It goes back.
you can feel, you can feel from, feel it from,
Yeah,
you can feel from,
yeah, no, I think that's gorgeous.
I'm not sure. In the house. Might, because it has to be invisible. This is not something I would normally do with money. This time last night I was selling fine sleeves and fine in that. I love it. I was so tickled when I found it. I have a blue version of it too, I think that's something for myself. A couple of things for myself. Yeah, when you can get Liberty on sale.
I know, I need to go to, I don't have Liberty Rock in my brand, so.
The only Joann's around here is in Frederick.
You know,
And I don't think they have any of
I
that
found
left.
it, and right when they first started selling it,
Yeah.
at the one in Columbia, but
They
then
didn't have it.
I went back
Yeah.
and then I saw it, so they said no.
And did the stock in Frederick is now almost gone. Terry Janvier and I went out one day. We were surprised, because they were doing it online too. Oh. Yeah. Sometimes. Not always. Well, yeah, I'm trying to do the two. I'm gonna watch this. That ham is not. Yeah.
No, it's not.
No, I think that, at, when, we did a documentary.
Yeah, that's okay.
With the little rabbits, carrots, yeah, and the whole time,
So bad, the other day
I just used
get
the
my nails
leftovers,
done,
and then I
wax
found
treatment.
some of the same color. I don't know, and Lindsay had it, and she gave me these, and then when I was looking, I found some more, so.
But you like take the back stitch into the fabric and then a back stitch into the
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, it's making an X.
Like a spring, when your machine, three, and then every stitch goes with it.
Pull it back in.
Right. Let it lay.
Seeing now,
Yes.
that's
Yeah, slightly, please.
Yeah. You feel how tight that.
But I ironed it, so it's got smushed. It's a little bit of a.
that is beautiful. Thank you for doing this tonight. But I have finished 5 bishop dresses this year. Like my on body is good, but I got made I've made 5 bishop dresses. And I have 2 singing I'm waiting for them to put together. Congratulations, this again,
But they're not.
I finished it.
I get the age of girls are, but it's the easiest thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, do it and they have a twirl. Made something that they.
Yeah. 3 of them I made for a party. And they were here and they were having a party, so I I'm over this.
Yeah. That's good. Then I have to. The farmhouse has the really cool.
Oh, yeah, I actually still have. one of my girls. Yeah, I used to have them. I'll get that. Oh, but I had to order them for years. Yeah. Women talking about liberty. My mother, so Alexandria, other places. And then Liberty Fabrics.
Did everybody get the message that this service, if you go home with somebody?
No, it's in my.
Maybe said, take it, not that you didn't take it home, it's not.
Taxi.
Yeah, we
don't drink
It's regular, it's not diet.
Yeah.
We don't do Pepsi products.
Yeah, my husband says he
We don't drink
doesn't.
Yeah.
I drink wine, water, and tea.
6 months.
Yeah, I remember.
But because I.
We all have to help each other.
Maybe I'll finish it before Christmas.
Did you have somebody in foster wear?
Oh, yeah.
I get all right.
I can having their track.
Yeah.
And their spouses are still.
Don't you be okay? Yeah.
Probably be okay when you break down on the stage.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they've actually now.
Was take a, you know, one free bowl, and they go up and you stitch into the fabric, and then you go back,
And they.
but not as far in the middle, so you get a little tiny ends.
Yeah, so the other.
No, they want to say what more. Wow.
That's gonna sit there. Until I get another issue, and I have this other project to finish. Well, and I'm saying.
Daughter,
Yeah. This is a 6-month size sleeve. With the bias from that, I know. I could put my arm in there.
It's almost like
I think I was talking, yeah, I was talking to,
but then a whole lot.
Peggy. Yeah. And put a board on there. Bring it back down to where it should be. That's huge. This is like last night. Almost like, almost looks like. Well, it called for. It has just the exact number, but I'm saying it looks like it. It looks like it was the project that we all decided we were gonna do. It was to work on the vision.
It's fun and.
I had two of my 5, and those cases. So we're hoping, we have a whole group for,
Several years ago, I was living down to see, I had stopped at part of that when it was so open to the public. And I already spent